Hi, welcome to our latest episode of the Kith and Kin Hospitality podcast, stories from the hospitality industry. I'm really happy to welcome Michael Godden here to tell us about the ups and downs that have brought him to where he is today, and of course, what makes the hospitality industry so special. So, Michael, can you give me an introduction to who you are and what you do, please?
So, as you said, my name is Michael. I live in Narborough, Leicestershire, and I run what I consider to be a unique business called The Wine Fan. I provide an entertainment service, if you like, for wine. I make wine easy and fun to understand. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of snobbery about wine and people are afraid of it. So they go to the supermarket and they always buy the same product. What I do is I show people that it's not snobby, it's really easy and it can be very enjoyable. And I approach it in a completely different way than, say, a vineyard would or a wholesaler or even a restaurant would. So I approach it in a completely different way and I make it so much fun for people to come along to one of our tasting events.
Fantastic. So, but tell me your story. How did you end up where you are? And yeah, from what point? Where does this all begin?
So I've been interested in wine for about 30 odd years, and it started when I was put in a situation. I was at work as a young manager, and somebody tried to embarrass me almost by asking me in a restaurant to choose wine for a group of people that was sat around the dinner table. And I got highly embarrassed. And I actually feel, in hindsight, I chose the wrong wine. I thought, you won't do that to me again. So I started to inquire and started to understand a little bit about wine. And eventually I learnt more and I took some qualifications in the end. And as I enjoyed what I was doing, I started studying more. I finished my last set of quite significant qualifications around the time of lockdown. I was studying during that period. And I got asked to provide tastings on a regular basis for friends and then groups of colleagues at work and even some of our colleagues. And somebody said to me, do you know when you talk about wine, your eyes light up? You have such a passion for it. You have to do something with it so that other people can share your passion. And I listened to it and I thought, yeah, this is good. So I set up the Wine Fan. I came up with the idea, almost woke up one morning and said, this is what I'm going to call my business. I run it on a part-time basis, but I can say more about how I plan to grow it in the future. And it's about just getting out there. And I've tried it and I'm expanding. And now I have a regular schedule of events. And I go into restaurants and I go into businesses to help them and entertain them, their staff or their clients. And I run private events for people as well, maybe to celebrate a birthday or something special. It's a whole range of different things that I do for people.
Fantastic. So, but where did this all start? I mean, what career did you have beforehand?
Well, I've worked in various different careers. I've been a scientist and I've been involved in basically large scale industry. And I currently work for a very big French IT outsourcing organization. And I almost consider I have two full-time jobs. I have a job that pays the bills, and I have a job which is the Wine Fan, which I get up and absolutely passionate about and fills me with absolute joy as I think about it.
So yeah, so you're doing your day-to-day job to get to obviously for what you have to do, but actually the wine and the hospitality industry is where the real passion is. What is it, do you think, about the industry and what you do and wine and all of that you love so much?
What I really enjoy is if say like demystifying wine, making it fun and easy to understand. If you go to a vineyard for a wine tasting, that's designed to sell you wine. If you go to a wine bar, they obviously want to sell your product, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. What I like is actually seeing people's eyes light up when I explain to them and I talk to them about wine. I say where it comes from, how it's made, talk about some of the facts in a way that's not snobby, it's not technical, unless somebody in the room particularly wants to understand the technical natures of it. So I balance it. And it's about seeing people enjoy themselves, relaxing with a glass of wine, but understanding what's in their glass and why they actually like it. And I pride myself that after one of my tasting events, I could almost go around the room and choose a bottle of wine for every single person and know that they would
Amazing.
enjoy it and like it.
Amazing, yeah, because I think the thing is with wine that people are so intimidated by it, aren't they? And
They are.
that I mean, I know even last night, my husband had a bottle of Chardonnay, and he was going, "Oh, taste this! This is amazing." And then he was saying, "Oh, but Chardonnay is not supposed to be nice, is it?" But I was like, going, "No, no, no! It's not the grape that's the problem. And it's that understanding. People
Yes,
don't know that
I,
stuff,
I,
do
I
they?"
completely agree. What you've just said is one of the most common things that people say to me. I don't like Chardonnay, and I said to them, you just haven't tried the right one. There are
Yeah,
so many different styles, and then we get engaged in a conversation. And at one of my tasting evenings, I would typically get asked between 50 and 100 questions. So they're scheduled for 2 to 2.5 hours. They will frequently last for an extra hour because people get so engaged. They want to understand. They need somebody that takes them on a journey that actually demystifies wine for them. And I have people that have come back 3, 4, 5, and even 6 times to my events because every event that I do is unique. It's different wines, different regions, different areas, and different bits of knowledge that people can acquire.
I know sort of back when when I was I owned a fine dining restaurant. I mean, I'd learned about wine before that, but certainly in a fine dining environment, you really need to know your wine. And so,
Yes.
pretty much because I was manager and we didn't have a dedicated sommelier, I was taking on that role. And it was just so exciting finding out about wines. And I did have a wonderful wine supplier who was, sort of holding my hand through that. But it's
Hmm.
just so exciting, and I did absolutely. And once you get over that intimidation, and you're prepared to go, oh, actually, what is this experience? What am I tasting? What am I feeling? It is really exciting, isn't it? And then you can take that elsewhere. You can go and pick up a bottle of wine from the supermarket and go, yeah, no, you've got somewhere to go with that.
Yes, I mean, one of the things that I do is I always people always leave one of my tasting evenings with something that they can use. So a good example is at the supermarket, as you've just mentioned, they all know how to go to their normal bottle and then look a few bottles either side of it and something that can be equally as good, maybe a little bit different, but incredibly good value for money. And the other thing that we're very good at is saying to them, showing people how actually tasting wine and understanding it. What I always say that, that 30 seconds in a restaurant when you're tasting wine. And many people feel really intimidated by that moment because they don't know what they've got to do. Come to one
Yeah.
of my events, and at the end of that, if nothing else, you will know exactly what you have to do and why it only takes 30 seconds. And when I talk to people about it, you can see them almost visibly relax, and the smile comes onto their face. It's such a joy to do, and that's why I do it. You say, what's the buzz about the hospitality industry? It's that piece, seeing people enjoy themselves.
And obviously, I mean, I can hear from where you're speaking, it's sharing your passion for it, and that just, I mean, and I know that this, once you've had just even a small amount of wine understanding, it unlocks so much and so much more enjoyment from wine. And I can see that you're just that understanding and being able to give that to other people is obviously part of what you're passionate about.
Yes. Not only that, I can go into restaurants and I can help them boost their clients' experience. Their guests coming in and say, okay, this is the right wines for you. Let's actually boost some of our range. Let's talk about the wines that we want to sell. Typically, restaurants, if they've not got a fine dining restaurant with a fine wine collection like you were describing, they would often have a Sauvignon Blanc, a Chardonnay, a Pinot Grigio, a Shiraz, a Malbec, and a Merlot, and possibly a Rioja. 6 or 7 wines, and they might want to explore a little bit further, and I can actually help them do that. And again, bring people into their restaurants. And there's a couple of restaurants that I work with where we do themed evenings. I did one recently at a restaurant where we did funky wines. So we chose 5 wines, paired it with some food, and just talked to people about wines that were completely off piste, really unusual, but such joy. I mean, one of the wines we chose was from Moldova, and people think, wine from Moldova? Never heard of it. But it was such
Yeah,
a great quality wine that everybody really enjoyed it.
yeah. No, I absolutely used to love sort of picking wines for my even when I just had a bar. picking wines that were just a little bit off piece, but then you have to make sure that your staff are not intimidated by the wine either, and that's often the case, isn't it? That the staff themselves are scared of it, so therefore those
Yes.
wines will just sit on the shelves and never sell because the staff don't know. There's so many times when I've been training my staff and they're just going, someone comes and says, "Can I have a glass of wine?" and they're saying, "Which wine would you want?" They're just saying house wine. I just go, "We don't have a house wine. Stop selling them house wine. Have a
Yeah.
conversation." Because
Yeah.
there's so much
Yes.
joy to be had out of this wine, and you're all missing the point. You're missing the great bit.
Yes. And that's something else I can do. I can help people. I can go into businesses and help them train their staff in a really simple, easy way that they will understand. I work with people, for example, I worked with a young couple that they were doing a DIY wedding and they wanted to have some great quality wine. So I just talked to them. We sampled a few different bottles and they said, "Yeah, we really like this one and we really like that one." I was able to supply it from people that I know and trust. I've got my own small network of trusted suppliers that I will use, and I will know that the quality of the wines are really great. I can even help people build their own wine cellar if they wanted to, by selecting some really good quality wines and teach them about how to store it, how to keep it, how to look after it, and even how to pour it. So there's a whole bunch
Fantastic.
of things that we can do for people.
Fantastic. It sounds absolutely amazing. So one of the things I wanted to ask you though was in your journey in the hospitality industry, what do you think's been your biggest mistake and perhaps even what the darkest day is? Because as I say, I think these are times when people make their biggest learning from. So I think it's really interesting to sort of understand that.
Yeah, I like many businesses, you think because I'm so passionate, I automatically thought that other people would want to come along to my events. And that just putting a note on social media would be sufficient in terms of marketing. And I've now learned that no matter how much marketing I do, it's never enough. Um, that was the first mistake. The second mistake, that in the age that we're in, with the cost of living being really important, and it's talked about on the media, is the fact that people want a lot of bangs for their buck. So if someone's going to spend a Friday evening with me or with me in a restaurant and spend whatever on a tasting event, they want to know they're getting good quality. One of the mistakes that I made originally was assuming that people would like supermarket wines that they could then go and buy. They don't.
Mm.
If they want to buy supermarket wines, they go to a supermarket. If they're coming to me, they want to know that they're getting wines that they can't buy in a supermarket that are much better quality. The price point's really, really important as well. So one of my biggest challenges and one of my biggest learning points is finding that exact right spot in terms of the price that people are prepared to pay for a ticket, whether it's with me or whether it's within a restaurant, and the price of the wines that they want to try. So, and again, it's an entertainment service. It's not necessarily about selling wine. If I've got a bottle and people say, "I really like that, can I take one home with me?" Yes, you can. But it's getting that really real price point that is so sensitive for people. And that's where I've had to
Yeah.
spend a lot of my time refining what I do.
I used to like going to events like that because particularly like the Christmas events, because if you go early enough, then actually what I was always doing was buying gifts for people. So I was like seeing,
Yes,
oh, what wine can I buy for somebody else? Because when you buy wine for somebody, you don't want them to walk into a supermarket and see it there and see how much you spent. You want them to know that, it's a gift. You want people to know that you
yes.
took some time to think about it and it's something that you think that they would like. And yeah, and then the added bonus obviously is that you get to go to an event and taste wine in advance. So it's win-win, isn't it?
It absolutely is. Yeah, absolutely. Very much so. Yes.
Fantastic. So what are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future to just expand what I'm doing. I currently have a number of venues. I need to expand the range of venues that I operate from. So I'm currently for like Southwest Leicestershire. I want to get into the city. So because people don't want to travel if they're going to be tasting wine, I want to go to all the areas within Leicestershire. I want to do more work within restaurants, and effectively, this is a part-time venture for me, even though it feels like a full-time job. I want to be able to take this full-time and give up my main job. And I want to do a whole mix of my own events, in-restaurant events, and private events for people as well, and just continue to share my passion and joy. And as you've picked up on it, as everybody picks up on it, it's clear just in the way I talk how passionate I am about it.
It really is. It's exciting listening to people who are really passionate about what they do, and yeah, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So, how can people find you?
So they can find me on Instagram as the.winefan. Also available on Facebook, but it's a replica of what's on Instagram. I have a website called www.thewinefan.co.uk. If you go onto there, you can sign up for a mailing list. I won't bombard people's inboxes. One email a month with a newsletter. Mostly that's telling them what events are coming up, how to book them, and what suppliers discounts we're offering that particular time. So quite easy to find, or people can just drop me a message anywhere, and I'm happy to talk to people.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I will put all of that information into our show notes as well, and so people can find you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story and your
really
passion for the
appreciate it.
hospitality industry. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.